and welcome to another UTRGV UTeach microlecture. Today's microlecture is going to be on tips for teaching with Zoom. Today we're going to be talking about several features of Zoom that can work really well with your online instruction. Those include the chat feature, screen share, annotate, microphone and cameras, polls, and breakout rooms. Let's get started. The first feature I want to share with you today is the chat. So the chat is going to be at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and all you have to do is select that and it will open up a chat box on the side. If you're sharing your screen, then you're going to find the chat at the top of your screen under the three dots that say More. Pull that down, it will give you a drop-down menu, and then it will pull up a chat box that you can utilize. Now, with the chat is a great feature as a teacher because you can use it to do things like type instructions. For example, everybody type your name and major, and then the students know what to do. And the students can also type their answers into that chat box, and you can see everybody's answers at once. It's a really great way to engage the students and get them all to participate. Another nice thing about the chat feature is you can share files. So here I have this button right here. You can set this up ahead of time where you can share different files with the class. Another thing you can do is copy and paste links into your chat box, and then that will send an active link to your students so they can all join the same web page, or if you created a Google Doc or a Google Slides, they can select that and everyone can utilize that document. Another cool thing about the chat feature is that you can have the students chat to everyone, or you can have them chat just to you. So they can send out a public chat or a private chat. To do a private chat, they go down here where it says everyone, and they would select that and select who they want to chat with. As the host, you can select if the participants can chat with no one, the host only, everyone publicly, or everyone publicly and privately. The nice thing about the private chat is that it gives the students sort of this safe space to type their answers because they know only you're going to see it, not their classmates. This can be really great for students who are shy, unsure of their answers, slow typers, poor spellers, or students who are English language learners. It gives them sort of that opportunity to still participate and still try without worrying about their peers seeing what their answers are. Whether your students participate with the public or the private chat, you can utilize those answers to call on specific students to elaborate, or you can use the responses to address content within your lesson or to address misconceptions that you're noticing. Another great feature that you can use is the screen share. The screen share is going to be at the bottom of your screen. It's this green box right here. You select that and it's going to give you the option to share either your desktop or specific screens, for example, websites or handouts or worksheets that you have, or a whiteboard, which is this blank screen that you can draw all over. We'll show you that in a little bit. You can also share files just like you can with the chat feature. And if you're going to share video, I would recommend selecting these two buttons on the bottom, Share Computer Sound and Optimize Screen Share for Video Clip. That will make your videos a little bit better when you're sharing them with your students. So right now I am going to share this website. And the advantage of the screen share when you're teaching is that everyone can be on the same page. They're seeing what you're seeing, so you can talk with the students in real time and communicate about whatever website or handout or image you want to talk to them about. The other nice thing with the screen share is that the students can share as well. In order to set that up, you just need to go to this little arrow next to screen share and select that multiple participants can share simultaneously. That will give your students the opportunity to share their screens as well. So they could be working on a handout, a simulation, a website, and then share their screen to show you and the rest of the class what they were working on. With the screen share, the only thing that you need to know is that only one person can share their screen at a time. So even though all of your students could be working independently on the same assignment, only one of them at a time will be able to share their screen with the class. Another feature that works great with the screen share is the Annotate feature. So in order to see the Annotate feature, you do need to be sharing your screen. Right now I'm going to share this PowerPoint slide that I created. And you'll see the annotate at the top where it says annotate and has a pencil. For your students, they're going to grab the annotate under this drop-down menu on the more. When you get to the annotate, it's going to give you all of these different features. So you can type text, you can freestyle draw, you can add stamps, you can add arrows, you can erase, you can change the color, the line width, the font. You can also clear and save whatever you're annotating. So the nice thing about the annotate is that everybody can use it at the same time. So just like with the chat box where everybody can respond, you can have everybody draw on the screen and participate and contribute to the conversation. Also, like with the chat, you can do public and private annotations. So with a public annotation, everybody can see what you drew, but you can also, with the private annotation, everybody can see each other's work, but they don't know whose is whose. You can also set it under more to show names of annotators, and that will show you who did what. So when you do that, it will put names next to people who are annotating. Now, with the annotation, everybody can do it all at once, but remember the annotations are keyed to the screen, not to the actual image. So if you move on to the next image, the annotations are going to follow it. So in order to get rid of those annotations, you will need to select clear. You can clear all drawings, my drawings, or the viewer drawings. Now, if you are going to be using the whiteboard, those annotation bar will show up immediately. And so you can use that to draw, to highlight, and your students can do the same as well. And again, everyone can annotate at the same time. If your students are getting a little too annotation happy, you can also disable that feature. So that way the students can't annotate unless you give them permission to. Annotate is really great for allowing everyone to participate at the same time and to visually show their thinking. It can also be a really great tool for you as a teacher because you can use it to further elaborate on your instructions. So for example, here, if I'm showing this PowerPoint slide, I can really highlight the areas that I want them to focus on. Tables, chairs, and patterns. And it can also help for me to explain student answers as well as the students to explain their own answers. So the chat, screen share, and annotate feature are really great ways for the students to participate, but they can all be kind of silent ways. So another really good feature is the microphone and the camera, and this can get your students to participate verbally. To access the microphone and the camera, they're going to be in the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom toolbar menu, whether it's at the bottom or if you're in screen share mode, if it's on the top. And you can either select it to mute or unmute. And same thing with showing your screen or not showing your screen. As a teacher, you also have the option to pull up the participants. When you pull up the participants, it will give you a list of participants, and then you can mute or unmute your participants from here. The participant list is also a really great way to randomly call on students because it gives you a list of all the students in your class. And there's also features that can have them raise their hand if they have a question or put yes or no. And it can be a great way to have students volunteer or answer questions with some quick formative assessment. The nice thing about using the microphone, having students unmute, is that it allows you to have sort of deeper conversations with the students and builds more class participation and more class culture because you can hear what they're saying and have them elaborate on their thinking. One thing that I like to do is use the chat box and the annotate feature in conjunction with the microphone. So I'll start off by having the students type their answers, and then I will call on specific students to elaborate. Same thing with the annotation feature. With the camera, you can have the students share their screen if they are comfortable so that the class can see them. This is again a great way to build class culture because you can see all the students and they can see each other. It can also be a good way to have the students show you things that are in their physical space. So for example, you can tell the students grab something red that represents who you are as a person, and then they can show it up to the camera and explain what it is. Another thing you can do is you can use the camera to do demos. So for example, you can grab some water and some food coloring and ask the students, based off of how fast the food coloring diffuses throughout the glass, would this be a glass of hot or cold water? So feel free to use the camera and the microphone options to enhance your class experience as well. The last two features that we're going to talk about right now are only available to the host, and that's polls and breakout rooms. The polls is going to be at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar where it says polling. What you do there is you select it and it will bring up any polls that you have. So you can select the poll you want to give to the students, or you can actually create a poll. You can do this while the class is in session, but I would kind of recommend trying to get your polls done ahead of time, because you don't want to take too much time working on them while you're talking to your students. Now, with the polls, you can have the choice between single or multiple choice answers, and you can add questions. However, you can't do free response questions, so just keep that in mind. You can also have the option of having the students answer anonymously or showing their names. Once you've created the poll that you like, you can save it. And then it will be an option when you go to your Zoom session. So now I can pull up that poll that I just made. And I can give the students this poll right here by selecting Launch Poll. The students will see my poll, and then I get to see their responses in real time to see what percentages thought of each answer. You can end the poll at any time, and when you do, you can either just keep the results for yourself or share the results with the students. The nice thing about these polls is that they're great for quick formative assessment. You can use them at the beginning of class to assess student prior knowledge. You can use them at the end of class as an exit ticket, or you can use them throughout the class to see what the students understand and if they have any misconceptions. The other thing that you can do is breakout rooms. Breakout rooms will be at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar where it says breakout rooms and has these 4 boxes. And you can create as many breakout rooms as you like. You can also set them to be filled automatically, which means randomly, or manually, where you can select the students that go into each room. When you create your breakout rooms, you can, even if they are manually assigned or automatically assigned, you can still move students around to whichever room you like. So if you have a student in the wrong room, you can move them around either before you send them to the breakout rooms or during the breakout rooms. You can also rename the breakout rooms. So if you have student groups, you can do that. And that can be a little bit more fun. And you can add rooms as you need. The other thing is that you can join any room at any time, so you can work with those groups of students who are in that room. The great thing about breakout rooms is that it creates a smaller space with less students, so students can participate with each other. It's basically like allowing group work. And the nice thing here is that students who are maybe a little too shy to participate with the class as a whole might be more willing to participate when they're just with a few of their peers in a smaller room. It also allows you to work more individually with certain students in those breakout rooms. The only thing about breakout rooms that I would advise is that you don't know what's happening in each room unless you visit. So you can visit each room, but it can be kind of difficult to decide which room to visit or which ones to visit first. So in those cases, I would suggest creating a wiki, like a Google Doc. So with the breakout rooms, what you can do is you can assign roles. For example, a reporter, that will be the student who will report back to the main group once everyone gets back together. A recorder, that's the person who's going to record on your wiki, and a timekeeper. The nice thing about the wiki is that everybody can see what's being typed at the same time, so in real time. So you as the teacher can see which students are participating and responding and doing a good job, and which ones need your help. And that can allow you to know which rooms you need to go visit. Another thing that you want to do is retype the questions, because once the students are in their individual rooms, they won't be able to see your screen anymore. So if you have questions or things you want them to be discussing, definitely type those into the wiki so they can see them while they're in their breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are really great tools. They allow much more class participation and allow students to work with their peers. So I would highly recommend using breakout rooms while you're teaching your lesson. Let's recap. So today in our tips for teaching with Zoom, we talked about several features, including the chat. You can use the private and the public chat throughout your lesson. The screen share, you can share your screen with the students. You can also have the students share their screen with you. The Annotate feature. The Annotate feature allows both you and the students to annotate in real time so you can see everyone's responses in a nice visual way. The microphone and camera, which allow the students to speak and see each other throughout the lesson. Polling, which allows you to produce polls to send to the students for a quick formative assessment check throughout the lesson. And breakout rooms, which allows you to put the students into smaller rooms so that they can discuss with their peers and you can work with the students in a smaller setting. If you need help with any of these Zoom features, I would recommend visiting the Zoom Help Center. They have tutorials and videos that can help you out. And if you'd like to see how you can use these features to teach inquiry online, check out our video on our UTRGV UTeach YouTube page called How to Teach Inquiry Online for more tips and tricks. That does it for us today. This was Tips for Teaching with Zoom. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next micro lecture.